The world didn't end with a whimper. It ended with a roar of pressurized gas and a flash of white light that felt like it was scrubbing my brain clean. My name is Ethan Vance. In the tech circles of Seattle, I was known as the man who could see through any code, any firewall, any digital lie. But on a Tuesday in October at a biotech firm tucked away in the shadows of Mount Rainier, I became the man who couldn't see the hand in front of his face. When the chemical explosion at the plant was a freak accident, or so I was told. When the bandages first came off at the hospital, the light was an agonizing needle. I kept my eyes shut, letting the doctors believe the damage was permanent. But 3 weeks later, in the quiet of a 2 a.m. hospital shift, I opened them. The world was blurry, like an impressionist painting, but it was there. And then it sharpened. I saw Julianne, my wife. She was sitting in the corner chair, her face illuminated by the cold blue light of her phone. I was about to call her name, to shout with joy that I could see her beautiful face again, but the words died in my throat. She was smiling, not a smile of relief, but a smile of pure, unadulterated triumph. She was typing a message. The doctor says it's permanent. The house is ours. Start the transfers. I closed my eyes. I didn't just lose my sight that day. I lost my soul. But I gained a perspective that no sighted person ever has. And I decided then and there, if she wanted a blind husband, I would give her the best performance of her life. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. I'm Ethan Vance, and welcome to Family Secrets and Revenge. This is the story of how I sat in the front row of my own betrayal, watching my wife and my manager, Marcus Thorne, dismantle my life, piece by piece, while I smiled and played the part of the helpless victim. Coming home was a sensory nightmare. I had to learn to live in a house I knew by heart while pretending it was a labyrinth of lethal obstacles. I spent the first week learning the layout. I would purposely bang my hip against the dining table or miss the handrail on the stairs just to see the look on Julianne's face. Through the haze of my feigned blindness, I saw her. She didn't offer to help. She would stand in the kitchen sipping coffee, watching me struggle with the cold detachment of a scientist observing a lab rat. "Careful, Ethan," she'd say, her voice a sugary mask of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "The world is a dangerous place for someone like you now." But the real danger was Marcus Thorne, my manager, my mentor. He started coming over every night under the guise of helping with the transition. I would sit in the living room, my eyes fixed on a point in the middle distance, while they sat on the sofa just 4 feet away. I watched them through the reflection of the glass-fronted cabinets. I saw Marcus reach over and slide his hand up Julianne's thigh. I saw her lean into him and whispering about the settlement. They weren't just waiting for me to recover, they were waiting for me to disappear. By the second month, the plan began to crystallize. Marcus wasn't just there for the wine, he was there for the paperwork. He brought over a man named Holloway, a disability specialist who was clearly on the take. I sat in my armchair, the blind man in the corner, while they discussed my life like I was a piece of depreciating equipment. "When the accident report is finalized," Marcus said, his voice oily and confident, "I've noted that Ethan bypassed the safety protocols to save time on the server migration. It's a clear case of employee negligence. The company won't pay the direct disability, but they'll pay into the managerial oversight fund to avoid a public lawsuit. $3 million, Holloway, split 3 ways. "And the husband?" Holloway asked, glancing at me. "He's a non-factor," Julianne chimed in. I saw her in the reflection, swirling a glass of my most expensive Merlot. "He's depressed, he's checked out. Once the first installment hits, we'll move him to that facility in the Cascades. It's isolated. He'll have round-the-clock care, and we'll have the rest." I felt a cold, hard knot form in my stomach. They weren't just stealing my money, they were stealing my freedom. They were going to warehouse me in a mountain facility while they spent my blood money on white sand beaches. And I've lived in this house for years, but suddenly, it felt like a stranger's basement. If you were in my shoes, sitting in that chair and hearing your life being traded away like a used car, what would you do? Share your thoughts in the comments. My real work happened when the moon was high and the house was silent. One night, I call it night 15, I was in the study, my eyes glued to the monitor of my hidden laptop. I was deep into Marcus's personal cloud drive, downloading the original, unedited footage from the server room explosion. Suddenly, I heard the floorboard creak outside the door. I didn't have time to shut the laptop. I shoved it under a pile of blankets on the floor and threw myself into the armchair, grabbing an audiobook player and jamming the headphones into my ears. The door swung open. It was Julianne. She was holding a candle, her face a mask of suspicion. She walked over to me, waving the candle in front of my open, vacant eyes. I didn't blink. I let my gaze remain fixed on the dark bookshelf behind her. "Ethan," she whispered, "why are you up so late?" "I couldn't sleep, Jules," I said, my voice thick with a faked grogginess. "I thought I heard a noise. Is everything okay?" She didn't answer immediately. She leaned down, her face inches from mine. I could smell the wine on her breath. She was looking for a spark, a flicker of recognition. I gave her nothing. I was a hollow man. "Just the house settling, Ethan," she said finally, her voice cold. "Go back to sleep. You have a long day of resting tomorrow." As she left, I felt the sweat break out across my forehead. I had been seconds away from being caught. I realized then that I needed to move faster. The trap needed to be set. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a ghost in the machine. I used my skills to tap into the house's security system, the one Marcus thought he had disabled. I installed microscopic cameras in the vents of every room. I recorded everything. I recorded Marcus and Julianne laughing as they threw my old awards and trophies into the trash. I recorded them looking through my closet, deciding which of my suits Marcus would take for himself. But most importantly, I recorded the bribe meetings. Marcus was meeting with a contact at the insurance firm, a man named Henderson. "I've got the doctor's signature forged on the final assessment," Marcus told him in the kitchen while I was napping on the porch. "Ethan is legally incompetent. Once Julianne signs the power of attorney, we can liquidate his 401k and the crypto holdings." "And the wife?" Henderson asked. "She won't get cold feet?" "Julianne," Marcus laughed. "She's the one who suggested the negligence angle. She's been bored with him for years. This accident was the best thing that ever happened to her." I watched this on my hidden tablet later that night. My heart was a stone. I didn't feel sadness anymore. I only felt the cold, clinical need for a total strike. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. I knew I needed a catalyst. I needed them to act out of greed, not just out of a plan. I needed them to rush. I accidentally left a physical ledger on the coffee table. It was a fake, of course, a meticulously crafted journal detailing a hidden stash of Bitcoin I'd supposedly bought in 2013 and forgotten about. According to the ledger, it was worth nearly $600,000. I waited. It took Julianne exactly 45 minutes to find it. I heard her frantic whispering in the kitchen. "Marcus, get over here. The idiot has $500,000 in a digital wallet. The recovery keys are in this book. No, but the last 4 digits are missing." "We need him to tell us," Marcus said, his voice tight with avarice. "If we get that, we don't even need the insurance payout to start the new life. We can leave him in the facility and be in Cabo by Friday." I sat in the garden listening to them through the outdoor speakers I'd tapped. They were salivating. They were no longer careful. They were predators who smelled blood, unaware that the blood was a trail leading them straight into a cage. The tension in the house became a physical weight. Julianne started testing me in more cruel ways. She would move my cane. She would leave the basement door open, hoping I'd tumble down. One afternoon, she even placed a hot plate of food just out of my reach, watching to see if I'd find it too easily. I played the game. I missed the food. I tripped on the cane. I even let Marcus talk down to me, calling me champ and big guy while he poured himself a drink from my private collection. "You know, Ethan," Marcus said one evening, leaning over my shoulder as I sat by the window, "life is about vision. Some people have it, some people are just in the way. You've had a good run, but it's time to let the professionals handle things now." I turned my head toward his voice, my eyes wide and unseeing. "I just want Julianne to be happy, Marcus. If you think the facility is best, I trust you. He patted my cheek, a condescending, stinging tap. That's the spirit, buddy. You always were a team player. I could see his reflection in the window glass. He was smirking at Julianne, who was miming a thank God gesture behind my back. I felt a surge of adrenaline. The pieces were all on the board. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in my story, and then share your thoughts in the comments. I contacted my private investigator, a former Fed named Vance, no relation, just a lucky coincidence, and the head of security at my firm, Sarah Jenkins. Sarah had always suspected Marcus was cooking the books, but she'd never had the proof. I gave it to her, all of it. The emails, the recordings, the forged medical reports, and the footage of Marcus and Julianne in my own home. Ethan, Sarah said over the encrypted line, "Wait, this is enough to put them away for a decade. Why wait? Let's call the police now." "No," I said, my voice cold. "I want them to think they've won. I want them to be holding the pen. I want the moment of their greatest triumph to be the moment of their total destruction." We set the date, the signing ceremony. The night before, I sat in the dark of the guest room. I didn't sleep. I watched the rain lash against the Seattle skyline. I thought about the 7 years I'd given to Julianne, the late nights I'd worked to buy her the jewelry she was currently wearing while she slept in Marcus's arms. I felt no regret. I only felt the clean, sharp edge of the coming storm. The evening of the intervention arrived with a heavy, oppressive fog. Marcus arrived early, looking like a man who had already won the lottery. He was wearing my favorite Rolex. The one he thought I hadn't noticed was missing from my nightstand. "Tonight's the night, Ethan," Julianne said, her voice high and nervous. She was pacing. "We're going to get everything sorted for your future." They sat me at the dining table. The settlement papers were laid out like a feast. Marcus pushed a fountain pen into my hand. "Here's the deal, Ethan," Marcus said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Sign the power of attorney, give us the last 4 digits of that Bitcoin wallet, and we'll make sure you go to the best facility in the country. If you don't, well, let's just say the state-run options aren't very comfortable." I held the pen. I looked at the paper. I could see the fine print. I could see the forged signature of the doctor. I could see Julianne, standing by the sideboard, her hands trembling with the anticipation of the win. "You know, Marcus," I said, my voice echoing in the quiet room, "there's something I never told you about that Bitcoin wallet." "What's that, champ?" "It's not encrypted with a number," I said. I laid the pen down and stood up. I didn't reach for my cane. I didn't stumble. I walked over to the light switch and flipped it, flooding the room with a harsh, bright glare. I turned and looked Marcus Thorne directly in the eyes. I let all the rage, all the cold calculation, and all the family secrets and revenge I'd been harboring pour out through my gaze. "It's encrypted with a soul," I said, "and you don't have one." The silence was deafening. Marcus's jaw literally dropped. Julianne let out a small, choked sound, half gasp, half sob. You can see," she whispered, her face turning a ghastly shade of white. "I've been seeing everything, Julianne," I said, walking toward her. And she backed away until she hit the wall. "I saw you in the hospital. I saw you in the kitchen. I saw you and Marcus laughing about my negligence while you drank my wine." "Ethan, wait," Marcus started, rising from his chair. "Sit down, Marcus," I barked. The authority in my voice, honed by years of leading teams, slammed him back into his seat. "I've seen the emails to Henderson. I've seen the offshore account in the Caymans. And I've seen the way you've been managing my firm's liability fund." I tapped a remote in my pocket. The wall-mounted TV flickered to life. It didn't show a movie. It showed the feed from the dining room, 30 seconds ago. Then it cut to a montage of their greatest hits. The beach in Malibu, the cigar-burning incident on the patio, the forgery session in the study. "This is a violation of my rights," Marcus screamed, his face a mask of panicked sweat. "No, Marcus," a new voice said. Sarah Jenkins walked into the room, followed by 3 detectives from the Financial Crimes Unit. "This is the end of your career and your freedom." The detectives moved with clinical efficiency. Marcus tried to sweep the papers off the table, But they were already in his way. They hauled him up, his expensive suit wrinkling as the handcuffs clicked shut. Julianne fell to her knees, sobbing. "Ethan, please. He made me do it. He told me we were broke, that you'd never recover. I did it for us." I looked down at her. This woman I had loved. This woman I had built a life with. She looked like a stranger, a small, pathetic stranger. "The only thing you did, Julianne," I said, "was show me that being blind was the only way I could finally see you." As the police cars pulled away, their blue and red lights reflecting off the wet Seattle pavement, I sat on my front porch. I didn't need the cane. I didn't need the darkness. The investigation was massive. It turned out Marcus had been embezzling from the firm for years, using the Managerial Oversight Fund as his personal piggy bank. My accident had just been his biggest opportunity. He was eventually sentenced to 12 years for fraud, conspiracy, and corporate espionage. Julianne? She took a plea deal. She testified against Marcus in exchange for a lighter sentence, but she still walked away with nothing. In the morality clause in our ironclad prenup, the one I'd written myself years ago, ensured that in the event of criminal conspiracy against a spouse, she forfeited every cent. I stayed in the house. I kept the library just the way it was, a reminder of the nights I spent in the dark, outsmarting the people who thought I was broken. I'm Ethan Vance. I'm not a lead architect anymore. I'm something else now. I'm a man who knows that the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one with the most power. It's the one who everyone thinks is invisible. Thank you for being part of this journey. This wasn't just a story of a cheating wife or a bad boss. It was a story about the strength we find when the world goes dark. It was about the fact that justice isn't just something that happens in a courtroom. It's something you build, brick by brick, in the silence of your own heart. This is Family Secrets and Revenge. I want to thank you for watching Ethan's story to the very end. If you believe that justice was served and you enjoyed the way we brought this cinematic tale to life, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring more of these incredible stories to you every single week. Tell me in the comments, what was the moment that hit you the hardest? Was it the cigar scene or the final reveal in the dining room? I read every single one of your thoughts, and I love hearing your perspective on these cases. Share this video with someone who needs to know that even in the dark, there is always a way to see the truth. Until next time, stay sharp and keep your secrets close.